Hello viewers, I'm SB and welcome back to Sunless Skies. Yes, that's right, we're back. I'm blaming the whole episode on that trip to Hybris, but I'm feeling better now. 90-ish% better now. And I'm eager to just get back to it. So, I think the plan right now is pretty much just to explore Albion. We're just going to sail around and see what we can see. But before we do that, we're going to spend our level up here. So we have yet another facet to gain. What would be appropriate? Our skill in mirrors is high, but we've seen some things that require some very, very high values. So I would like to keep pushing mirrors up. I don't know how iron got so high. Mirrors and hearts was supposed to be our thing, right? So, not that I want to make the choices entirely based on statistics, but maybe we should pick something that will give us mirrors, potentially at least, will give us mirrors and hearts this time, just so we can kind of keep our character mechanically what he was supposed to be. So, mirrors and hearts. Family footsteps. That's an interesting idea. Let's see exactly what this is. The apple did not fall far from the tree. The way you turned out came as little surprise to those around you. Cast from a mold, they said. But which of your family's qualities do you embody? Well, what I was thinking here is that you, I guess maybe this is not universally the case, but for me at least it was, you get your curiosity from somewhere. Mine certainly came from some members of my family, so maybe the curiosity that eventually got us into all this trouble came from the family, right? Some inherit wealth, but you inherited character. Good breeding, people said. Well, perhaps. But you've always been a keen observer and learn quickly. I think this is nice. You know, we've talked a lot about sort of the past of the character, and we have a feeling that their family was probably rich and kind of crappy and uninterested in them, but not their whole family, right? Someone was there. Someone taught us to ask questions. Ow. Good to see that we're getting back to things exactly as we left them, as me just crashing into stationary objects. I'll tell you what, it's been a rough couple of days for me. I mean, I was sick, obviously. But, I got to feeling pretty stir-crazy. Oh, what is all that? I got to feeling pretty stir-crazy, all cooped up in the apartment, which is kind of a strange thing, because I usually... Oh, paupers' coffins. Well, this feels maybe a little bit disrespectful. Not disrespectful. There's definitely a social mores that we're breaking here, but also, you know, they're not using whatever's left, right? Some coffins bear crests indicating a significance paupers' graves are rarely afforded. So we could try to grave rob a little bit. It feels wrong, but also we certainly don't need to reduce terror, right? I'm going to gain terror by doing this. Would our character rob a grave? Yeah, we're like so motivated by curiosity, right? I think that actually, possibly. Yeah, okay, let's try to find a coffin that looks significant and then just become overwhelmed by curiosity about what that significance might be. After several silent minutes stood at the window watching coffins drift by, a keen-eyed signaler cries out. A flash of silver. You hurry to the footplate, coal shovel in hand, to hook the coffin as it passes. You almost stumble over into the sky, but you reach the coffin with its crest of silver and haul it aboard. The crest is the university's. The silver is real, as are the chains that seal the coffin. You fetch the bolt cutters. Inside, an experimental device for fracturing Navarantine. Too precious to leave in the hands of academic scholarship, apparently. Okay, yeah. You know, it's what it is, really, is pragmatism. Think if this thing had just been lost to the sky forever. Yeah, but what I was saying... Boy, it's, they're really hammering that home, huh? Hey, Cabby, go find me something to look at. As I was saying, I was getting kind of stir-crazy, which is weird because I spend almost all of my time inside... you know, by choice. something about being sick and just kind of like laying down and looking on stuff on the internet, or looking at stuff on the internet, was really getting to me. So I'm glad to be here on the internet still, but in a different way. I'm not sure why this is better, but it is. It feels better. I am happy to be back. Turns out most of the places I want to go in life are in my head anyway, but being cooped up with them the last couple of days was not that fun. You can tell I was going a little stir-crazy because I posted on Twitter more than once in a month, which is very unusual for me. Oh god. Okay, well, that was a good try. Okay, so he's just shotgunner. Ow. I was really hoping that I could deter him with a hit right on the nose like that, but apparently it doesn't work that way. It's really, really hard to hit these guys with the mangonel because of the extremely erratic drifting. Like the fact that they can go from drifting rightward to drifting leftward with no problem at all. No slowdown, no period of inertia, makes it just very close to impossible to hit them reliably at long range. And at close range, they can hit me too, which I don't love. Alright, I'm gonna try to bait him into ramming this corner. Seems like he's not falling for it. Come on. We have seen them destroy themselves, slamming into objects before. I was hoping we could get a little bit more of that going. Well, I just shot London. I hope there's no consequences for that. Okay, so I took a huge amount of damage there. Well, we certainly can't afford to do anything other than scavenge for parts. Man, should I just go back to London and heal? That was a lot of damage. I kind of hate fighting those guys. Yeah, we have to. That sucks. What a crappy opening to the episode. Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to get the capability to do the things that we see the enemies and like the tackities and stuff do, where you can just list suddenly from side to side. We have our sideways thrusters, but they take you a very small distance. It kind of seems like those guys are like third-person action game control stick moving around, which I guess is just always going to be frustrating to fight. I really need like homing missiles or something. I need projectiles that can turn a little bit, because being able to shoot enemies from a distance is definitely a skill you can develop, but you can't develop the skill of shooting them from a distance if they're going to be in a different place than it looked like they were going to be when you fired. Alright, explore London. No, sorry. Where's the... It'd be at the station. Nope, this is the station. At the yard? Repair my locomotive. There we go. Very annoying. Terrible waste of our time and money. And I guess we may as well just top back off on stuff. Okay, let's try that again. That way sucks. Let's go this way. How was there an entire locomotive hiding amongst that little, like, cloud of luggage? Some kind of cloaking field or something. I don't really think about it a lot, but I guess the amount of time that I spend inside is kind of weird. It's been this way for so long that it doesn't even occur to me. But there are... I do not go outside every day. I don't even go outside every couple of days. There are weeks where I don't go outside all week. And it's not like, oh, I hate going... it's not like something I'm actively avoiding or anything. We're going to send the scout out again. It's just, I've worked remotely by computer for such a very long time that I'm used to not needing to go outside very much. I really only have to go outside to, like, either hang out with friends which obviously you don't do every day, or like go to the store, which I try to do as little as possible by just actually buying the stuff I'm going to need for a while. And do I even want to go over there and see that horror? I probably don't. Let's try to skirt around it though, because it has often been the case that horrors are between us and interesting things. I'm curious what might be on the other side of that. And you know, ooh, wow. That's not the horror. That's something else. We'll just go around that as well. Is that storm what's making that, like, gasping sound? That's very unnerving. Given how much terror we currently have, I think my crew agrees. Let's send out the cavi. What you got, buddy? Okay, well, something dead ahead. Maybe that's a disrespectful way to word that. Just ahead. What edifice stood here in times past? None now know. Alright, so there's something, like, really red and terrifying over there. There's also a port on the other side. So this is going to be Perdurance then, right? Weren't we told that Perdurance was to the northwest? Oh, Jesus. What is that? What on earth is that? Well, it's exactly in the direction we need to go. I mean, if this is Perdurance, we should probably at least visit. We should know. What is down there? It looks like a planet that's been... a big chunk has just been taken out of, like Galactus was here or something. The ant rushes a complaining... brushes a complaining crew member's hair. It's for your own good. You are close to royalty. Well, a new port. Hey, have we actually... hold on a second. Have we actually talked to our aunt enough to know what the next thing in her plotline was? You have to forgive me, I'm a little forgetful after my big absence there. I'm rather busy, she insists. Perhaps if you tell her something ghoulish, she'll pay attention to you. Okay, well, we certainly have tales of terror to spare. Good Lord, are you all right? She immediately bakes you a batch of scones. Wow. She doesn't even comment on the order in which you apply the jam and the cream. I know it will cheer you up, she says briskly. By the way, nope, don't remember what voices I was using for any of the characters. I've been invited to a little soiree by Bunty, she pauses. An old school friend. I think she's head of the Deniable Constables now. You'll come with me, won't you? It'll take your mind off things. She considers for a moment. I must warn you, it's a very particular evening. Old enmities put aside, that sort of thing. It's at Carillon. Oh, Carillon. Well, that's a distance. We'll go back to Carillon at some point. So we could see what our aunt is up to, but we probably should focus on business for the moment. Oh, the Most Serene Mausoleum. This is where the Clayman wanted to go. Hey, I do remember some things. The soaring, sepulchral heart of the Most Serene Mausoleum. Constructed over the cooling embers of Albion's murdered son. Oh, that's what that is. The mausoleum was built to house London's most glorious dead. Okay, let's just swing by Kensington Station then. Kensington Station is tucked into a side chapel. An elderly footman is lighting candles while waiting to guide visitors into the mausoleum proper. The footman watches you alight from your engine. He coughs meaningfully. Lighting a fresh taper, which he carries in a silver holder, the footman leads you through a narrow arch and down a winding spiral stair. You can hear weeping close by, but the echoes make it hard to discern the source. Soon after, you hear a sharp burst of laughter and music. Occasionally, you can make out the rumble of what the footman confirms to be the London Necropolis Railroad far below. At the very bottom is an oak-paneled door. The footman unlocks the door, bows, and departs. Huh. The footman disappears into the gloom, leaving you alone facing a desk shaped like a baptismal font. A cheery registrar sits in the middle, waiting to greet you. Okay, well, I guess let's introduce ourselves. Apparently there are protocols that must be followed. I hope someone will tell me what they are. She has you fill out a form indicating your profession, age, usage of hours, and to confirm your legal status as alive. The Prince Consort's tomb is exceedingly popular. To prevent congestion, donations are requested. The greater the donation, the longer you will be allowed to gaze upon the sepulchre. If one is fortunate enough to garner the attention of one of the deathless, one must be respectful and only speak when spoken to. It does not do for the living to linger long among the dead. She files away your form into an excessively large black cabinet. The scent of burning incense wafts by. The Duchess Incarnadine is abroad today. Okay, well... Visitors to the Most Serene Mausoleum are ushered into the nave, a vast soaring vault above the heart of the mausoleum. Here, guests of the mausoleum may visit the tomb of the Prince Consort, arrange for the burial of their own dead in the catacombs, or merely enjoy the solemn environs of the Empress's monument to her departed love. Okay, well, we definitely should write a report while we're here. The Most Serene Mausoleum is, if not the heart of Her Majesty's, or Her Renewed Majesty's domain, then at least its pulmonary valve. The Most Serene Mausoleum endures. The catacombs grow as the necropolis line brings more bodies for burial. Traders bring fresh hours into the mausoleum, endowments from the Empress for the deathless interred in their vaults. Plans are in motion to add a new chapel to the nave, while the deathless petition for a new, separate station for the exclusive use of their servants. Death has never been so much in motion. I wonder what the people at Carillon think about all this. Alright, well, we know our Clayman wanted to come here. I suppose let's start with that. The Most Serene Mausoleum is full of mourners, tourists, and aristocrats seeking to reconcile themselves with death one way or another. The Claymen are conspicuous in their absence. The Clay Conductor lumbers gloomily among the mourners, searching fruitlessly for someone who resembles himself. Eventually, the cheery Registrar appears. "I'm sorry," she tells you. "Your friend is making people, well, miserable." You explain your situation, and she relents. After a brief consideration of those interred in the mausoleum, she suggests that you seek an audience with the engraved mourner, a man of polished marble. He is one of the deathless. You will need to gain favor of the deathless through meeting them in the mausoleum before you can arrange an audience. Okay, alright, we can try to do that. The mausoleum accepts remains or mementos of the dead in its vaults, for those who can afford it, of course. For everyone else, there's always the sky. So this would not be a cheap thing to do. We definitely have lost people. There's even a counter for that somewhere, isn't there? Is it on my profile? Yep. Your letters of regret are becoming rote. Well, that's very grim. That might be the grimmest thing we've read so far. I guess let's keep looking around here. Let's visit the memorial to the Prince Consort, because this is something I know nothing about. The Most Serene Mausoleum was built to commemorate Her Renewed Majesty's dead love. His tomb is the heart of the mausoleum. The vaults, chapels, mourners, and courtiers, all arteries and capillaries to his memory. To visit the tomb, one must speak to the cheery Registrar. Okay. Ooh, we could deliver uncanny specimens to get access to the upper gallery. The cheery Registrar will accept diverse meats, in lieu of monetary donations. It is customary to leave offerings at the tomb, which are cleared away the next day. This will reduce a moderate amount of terror. Is that all it does? Because we don't actually need to do that, since we found a new port. People are always excited about that. But I guess this is something we could just, we now know a thing we can do with our uncanny specimens. You have lingered long enough in the shadow of death. Boy, that's wishful thinking. I guess let's learn about the deathless, huh? We're going to have some business to do with them, apparently. Her Renewed Majesty's most highly favored courtiers. I don't know if this is courtiers or courtiers. I'm going to say courtiers for now. Prefer the upper climbs of the nave, away from the excitable members of the public. The Most Serene Mausoleum houses more than just the Prince Consort. Under its soaring spires, the Empress keeps her most favored... You know what? I'm just going to look it up. I have another monitor. I'm just going to look it up real quick. Is this a French loanword, or is this an English word that we stole from French? Well, probably that we stole from Latin, right? Okay. Dictionary has an actual R on it. Most favored, courtiers. These lucky few are provided with every luxury they might wish, and a generous stipend of hours. The only condition of this bounty is that they are dead. A legality only. They cannot possess property nor hold political office as a result. They are the deathless. Occasionally, they deign to appear to visitors. Well, in order to consult the engraved mourner, we will need the favor of the deathless, which we're just going to have to figure out how to earn. So, a childhood friend of Her Renewed Majesty, the Duchess Incarnadine, was instrumental in the conquest of Albion. Her place in the Mausoleum was her reward. You know what? As long as we're looking things up, what the hell does Incarnadine mean? Because that is not a word that I'm familiar with. Incarnadine, maybe? I think it's Incarnadine. Hold on, I'm going to click this. Hopefully this isn't crazy loud.
Incarnadine.
Boy, the person pronouncing that didn't sound excited to do it at all. Okay, Incarnadine. A bright crimson or pinkish red color. That is what I would have guessed it meant. Yeah, okay. We may now speak with the Duchess. Let's do so. I guess there was a die roll there. I just assumed we'd be good enough at it. You know, the little die is colored green. That usually means good stuff. The Duchess would be a small figure, were it not for the mounds of silk and brocade that comprise her dress. She glides along the flagstones, a great train of scarlet cloth following her like the telltale trail of blood in a penny dreadful. Today she is menacing the footmen, press-ganging them into her mock battles in the Tower Carmine. Fatalities are rare in her battles. Maimings are not. She gives you a red-lipped smile. A footman intervenes and introduces you. She is pleased to encounter a genuine captain and quizzes you on all the battles you fought in the wilderness. The goriest details she demands you linger on. She parts with you only reluctantly. Okay. We have gained favor. That was easy. All we had to tell her was about all the horrible, horrible things that happened to us. Seems to be a popular currency out here. Everybody's living a truly awful life. Why wouldn't they want to hear about more truly awful things happening? Alright, well, we can spend our favor to consult the engraved mourner. We could also entertain a request from a counselor. Requested your attendance, an honor rarely granted to the legally living. So I'm guessing that once we do one of these, we're going to have to get favor again, that we're going to spend this. The Chamberlain presides over the affairs of the Mausoleum. He has seniority of the Sepulchre and rarely meets with visitors. Okay, so... yeah, I mean, let's push forward with for our clayman. I told him I would. A man of alabaster and marble, cold and ancient as an antique statue. Might he have an interest in the clay choirs? The engraved mourner consents to a meeting in his many-pillared chambers. You sit on couches of blue stone and drink wine in ivory cups. The conductor hunches, his form far heavier than the furniture can support, while the mourner reclines elegantly upon his divan. After polite introductions, the conductor demands, "Why do you look so why do you look different?" The mourner smiles. "I was built for a purpose. To guide, to shepherd, to travel. It was deemed I should be pleasing to the eye and ear. Now, you wanted to hear me sing?" His singing is somber and cold and sad. The clay conductor shakes his head. "No good. Too much like the sky." You make your excuses. Okay, well, we've lost favor because you're out here insulting him to his face, but, you know, at least we're moving plot forward. So, it looks like it will not be trivial... will not be trivial to regain favor. The Deathless do not lack for time. They do, however, lack for diversion. Fresh reading material is valued high here, a glimpse of a world left far behind. This will allow you to speak to the currently available member of the Deathless immediately. Okay, we have another use for literature. Good to know. And every once in a while we're going to be able to come back and trade stories of the terrible things we've been through to get a little bit of favor, it looks like. Well, we'll have to come back. We have a lot of uses for literature now. We can contemplate the dead sun. The corpse of Albion's old son is visible from the great rose-colored window. Well, I'm very good at contemplating things. Apparently not that good. The body of the sun is still cooling. A few embers continue to glow at its core, a low and sullen red. When Her Majesty entered Albion, she slew the sun with an experimental weapon, an unclear bomb. Then she claimed the sun's throne and dominion. You can't help feel that, as you gaze on the sun gazes back. Okay, so the clockwork sun is a replacement for the sun that was killed. The storm that speaks has noticed you, which is a worrying thing to be told. So, helping to rebuild the clockwork sun is definitely a thing that would help the Queen, right? Her Majesty. I wonder if there's a way to rekindle this sun. Something to keep an eye on. I think we've done about all we can do here for right now. Let's have a quick chat with our clayman. Excuse me, what the hell, man? He's defective. Plain to hear. No wonder he lives surrounded by humans. If they only knew true clay music. Conductor grimaces. He directs your attention to a crumpled brochure. It is from Magdalen's House of Small Comfort in the Reach. Any company the weary skyfarer needs... Sorry, he's not... Is he reading this? He might be reading this. No, he's not. This is just from the brochure. Any company the weary skyfarer needs, we shall provide. Anyone you can think of. Those of a rubbery persuasion, the company of the dead, even clay company. The conductor taps the page. We shall see. Can we? Alright, back to Magdalen's. Apparently we're going to have a lot of reasons to go back to the Reach. Huh. So we could dismiss him. This will reduce terror for some reason. Apparently the crew's not super fond of him. Well, I don't think that's a thing that's necessary. Okay. How do we get out of the mausoleum? Can I get out on this other side here? We're above the horror now. We saw a glimmer of it at the edge. Yeah, I need to know more about what's going on with the sun here. Okay, that's a very shiny ship that's not going to cause me any direct problems, right? I would like to get a little closer. Is that... These are Her Majesty's vessels, right? A glorious dreadnought. What does that sound? Like bats and... Huh, I don't know. Maybe it's just the dreadnought? Okay, well, we could just mourn the dead. We could try to get into this train and see if there's anything here of value to us. We already have some terror. There's a pretty good chance that going aboard we would gain some more, or we could just mourn the dead to lose some. I think I'm going to roll the dice on this. We're low enough on terror. It's something we can deal with, at the very least. Your boarding party follows you gingerly through the rent in the wreck's side. Steel bones of the engine groan miserably. You'll need to hurry. Lifting your lamp, you lead the party towards... Yeah, this is a very interesting question, actually. We have some munitions already that we could trade if somebody needed some. Can't remember if we have a prospect that requires more. I know we need literature and tea. I don't think we need more munitions right this second. I guess let's just check the captain's quarters. Maybe we'll get lucky and find something really weird. Your party efficiently and thoroughly turns the cabin over, throwing everything of use into a frost-crackling bedsheet to be examined in better circumstances. Then you hurry back to your locomotive in time to watch the wreck crack, split, and spill its remaining secrets into the sky. We still haven't really found a use for otherworldly artifacts, have we? Okay, hold on a second. Weren't we told We were told by somebody that Perderance was northwest, right? I don't remember. It's probably something we heard in London. Or maybe it's something I'm just making up. I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely not in our quest log, because all of the quests that we got asking us to go to Perderance, we got while we were still in the Reach, and I thought it might be a place in the Reach. Fog looks a little different over there. Well, I guess that's the way we're going. Cavi returns and delivers its report in the format of a heroic monologue. I bet he monologues a lot, actually. Oh, what is that light? I guess it wasn't a light. Never mind. Just paranoia, mostly. Can you blame me, though? Out here in the waves? I'm still not 100% sure, actually, what it is that we are locomoting through. Boy, he has some range. Oh, wow, what is this? Consider. That's a big tombstone. That is a larger than my locomotive tombstone. So we got a sky story out of that, and also a whole bunch of terror. Where are we? I think he revealed that. Like, I know this is Kellum's Cairn, but I don't know what Kellum's Cairn is. Like, whose graves and crypts are we looking at here? Is this all part of the Mausoleum? I guess it might be. Part of the reason that I wanted to go this way, by the way, is because this is where the transit relay is. This is the side of the map that transit relay was on. So I'm hoping, I'm just kind of guessing, that this will be where the least dangerous stuff is. You know, because we could just as easily have come through the thing and gone immediately to the north as immediately to the south. I picked arbitrarily. You pass near a sea of rolling mists. How languorous they are. How soft and how gray. What a weird thing to think suddenly. Alright, there we go. That's what we were looking for. Maybe this will be Perderance. So it was said that we needed an invitation. The Rat Brigade pools its money for beachside snacks, candy floss, toffee apples, mysterious meat. Candy floss is such a weird... So candy floss is cotton candy to Americans. And that's a weird name for it, not in the sense that it's wrong, just in the sense that, like, floss is very much about sort of like the opposite of what candy is for. I can see how it sort of resembles a ball of floss. I wouldn't want to eat something that was really similar to floss, personally. Where exactly? It looks like the... I think I can just go over this? Our light is going over it. It looks like something we'd crash into. Okay, the dock is on the other side of this structure, which we definitely will crash into. So let's reroute a little bit here. I don't know what these little things are. If we get close to it, do I have the option of interacting at all? I'm going to assume that I would bump into it and damage the train if I actually touched it. A new port. The crew are eager to see what it has to offer. I am too, actually. Palace Pier. Workers in neat uniforms guide your locomotive to rest. Tourist engines rest alongside trading engines. Crews trade gossip and delicacies. Signs in block capitals make abundantly clear that this is a place for pleasure. Welcome to Worlebury-juxta-Mare. Maybe Mare? I don't know. Maybe Mare. Whatever it is, it dazzles like a Fabergé egg, lamplit, rich brass and Britain in Baroque. In the distance, carnival music mixes with faint cheering. A queue twists and snarls along the dock. Visitors are not allowed to just stroll into the port. They must be admitted. Every fortnight, the Bureau of Entertainment holds a lottery to give out a number of paupers' passes which grant free admittance. The queue for these is long, but it's not the only way into the port. Okay. So we could exchange some literature, apparently very, very valuable stuff, out in this part of space. Interesting. Fishers waiting for access to Worlebury Beach have set up rods along the dock. They'll know all about caging unruly sorts. This will trade your unidentifiable squirmings for caged catches. Huh. A fox-jawed man, smartly dressed in cobalt, takes notice of you. He crooks a finger. First time visiting, eh? Come on, come over then. I'm going to talk my way around this name as much as possible. The representative of the Bureau of Entertainments introduces himself. We are a department of the Ministry of Public Decency, but we're entirely autonomous. We run this port for the benefit of weary travelers. He leads you past a queue that doesn't even bother to grumble. Yes, I know, queue jumping is terribly uncouth. But would you really rather be mingling with the proletariat when you could be enjoying our port? And I'm sure once you've seen what we have to offer, you'll need to come back again. He leads you to a fitting station. Everyone goes through this. There's a dress code. The Bureau of Entertainments wishes to encourage industrious captains to patronize the port. To this end, on a captain's first visit, they are allowed in both without charge and without having to queue. The couturier. There are so many words in English that are basically just stolen French words, and I'm never sure which ones of them have maintained French pronunciation. Is exquisitely attired. Burgundy tailcoat, cravat, brocaded vest in iron and ink, breeches, boots, and a smile like a shark. Periodically, he checks a brass pocket watch, while his grin lengthens and diminishes in turns. He is here to supervise the attire of new visitors to the port. In Worlebury, everyone dresses up in the heady styles of 50 years ago. The Bureau of Entertainments provides suitable attire for all visitors. What article of clothing are you going to base your choice of outfit around? I'm curious whether this is some, oh, it was so much better in the olden days when everybody dressed up properly nonsense, or if this is like an intentional, like, we're going out to a bar where everybody dresses like it's the 20s because it's a fun, wacky thing to do, sort of thing. Your choice of outfit has no impact on the port. It is merely an outlet for your whimsy. Oh, good. I do need an outlet for my whimsy. You know what I would really love is to have some whimsy to have an outlet for. I do not need an explanation. I basically understand what's going on here. So should we base our outfit around a hat? What a dizzying cornucopia of grotesquely perfect millinery! London would weep in envy. A dress? A dress shirt? Why not both? Awaiting your attention are armoires heaving with lace and leather, silk and cashmere, everything that had ever elicited the envy of another. Perhaps a finely tailored coat? More my size? Draped across an army of smiling porcelain mannequins, very creepy, is an armament of coats in every size, all sumptuously designed, all perfect. Just like you. You know what? I think it's a really good idea to not have faces on your mannequins. There's no expression you can put on a mannequin that isn't going to end up being creepy. A skirt? Or maybe a kilt? Or bustle? Or breeches? A glimmering sea of fabrics tooled to fit any waistline or hips. Line an enormous walk-in closet. Through the frills, you see undergarments. Oh my. Fabulous footwear? Of all the finery on display, the footwear is possibly the most avant-garde, with fashions that border on ludicrous, exciting. Or maybe we could just not do this. There is no reward for taking this option. Fear somehow supplants common sense. Sure, you'll have to wait an age to get back here, but perhaps you'd do anything to escape the couturier's carnivorous grin. You know, I have wondered whether it would be cool to wear a kilt. I have some appropriate background, but I don't know if that's this character. So our character, we have this thing going on, right? This, like, super high collar. Our character is very into, like, being obscured, it seems like. What makes the most sense? A big coat, like a really big coat, is sort of our deal, but maybe we're looking for a little bit of a change. Hey, you know what would distract everybody from our physical appearance? A dizzying cornucopia. He summons a pair of pale children. The word blue's not even on there. Where did I get that from? They're just normal pale children. Their stained glass eyes, a palette of emerald golds. They'll help you with anything you need, Archivist. No favors too big, too terrible. I'd ask that you don't request a bladder as a hat, however. I hate training new help. His assistants are as attentive as they are silent. Reverently, they offer possibilities in flattering headgear. Fascinators, bowlers, top hats, even veils filigreed with milky blue seed pearls, and roses the red of a broken heart. When you finally dismiss the children, the couturier considers you for a long moment. He turns to a wardrobe and hands you several garments, all your size. Once you are dressed, he dismisses you, shooing you into Worlebury-juxta-Mare. Why can't I say Worlebury? What is a fascinator? Is that a kind of hat? You know what? I'm already Googling stuff. Let's just, fascinator. Okay, one of the first autocompletes is fascinator hat. Oh, it's like, shoot, I don't know how to describe this. I've seen these before, though. It's like when a woman wears a thing sort of like on the top right of her head that's not obviously like meant to function as a hat, and it's just a pretty thing that's on your head. It doesn't even cover your whole deal. It's just fascinating. Holy crap. This fascinator is a red flower. It is $420. I can't understand how people spend their money sometimes. Okay, anyway. Back to the game. Well, we're in. It's precisely like every other weekend destination. Shabbier than advertised, and bristling with ways to spend more money than intended. But there is more to Worlebury-juxta-Mare than meets the eye. My whole brain is shutting down slowly, it seems like. Well, let's write a report. Those who are anybody, and those who are nobody, come here to relax. Port's comings and goings could be informative. In the face of candy floss, guards are let down. Presented with this much tea, defenses are dropped. This should have been a good place to gather information. Unfortunately, the screams of the donkeys render eavesdropping impossible. Still, even by itself, a list of visitors is certainly worth something. Sorry, the screams of the donkeys? Are we going to get into that? Because I would love to know what the deal is with that. Interesting. So I guess our clothing is going to wear out over the course of the day, maybe? And that's when they'll chase us away? Alright, well, the more places you search, the easier the search will get. The incautious driver spends hours sniffing at the air in search of familiar spores, but to no avail. It would probably be hard to find them over the donkeys. The place where I would not want to sniff the air. So we can wander onwards. This will reduce your attired attribute, but may open up new opportunities. So we get to do this a limited number of times. But we can leave, you've run out of diversions and it's time to go home. You'll have to trade, pay, or queue to re-enter the port. And we could attend an exclusive exhibition of portraits if we are attired, and we have not yet become familiar with the portraitist, and we do not have the patchwork devil. And we had more bohemian affiliation. Well, I don't think that I can get to 4. I think if we were to change our crew up a little bit, we could gain like 1 or 2 points, but I think we might be at 0 right now, so we're certainly not going to get anywhere near 4. Alright, well, let's just look around a little bit then. A babble of shops and stalls sears the gaze with bold, mismatched colors. A woman calls you over to a stall selling toffee something. They're a little too large to be apples. She assures you with a broad smile that, of course they're apples! Maybe you haven't seen one recently and can't recall how they look. Some of the toffee has fingerprints in it. Still, that child bedecked in frills seems to be eating some without suffering any obvious harm. See, that's the trick. It's not immediate harm. Your clothes have a shine to them, as if abraded into softness. But the longer you spend in Worlebury-juxta-Mare, the easier it is to spot the flaws in the facade. There, another detail not quite right. That said, I am briefly without terror. Okay, so this is going to decrease as we continue to interact here. So wander onwards gives you nothing and reduces your thing, but just refreshes the options. I wonder if these are random, if it's like pulling from a pool of random things, or if there's a particular path that we are meant to figure out to take here. Well, we could stop at a charming tea room. Tea is always a good idea. In a universe of horrors, tea is never wrong. Take a little donkey ride. How expensive? 3? Alright. No trip to Worlebury's is complete without a donkey ride. Man. Wow. While his donkey drools a string of iridescent tumors. That's a very good, extremely gross description of that thing. I can really see what's happening there in my mind's eye, and sort of wish I couldn't. Or we could go down to the beach. I am very torn, actually. So we need to acquire even more tea, don't we? Don't we need just like a huge amount of tea? I guess we also need a bunch of honey. I don't know. I don't know what any of these might lead to. I guess let's stop at a tea room. A tea room is a place where people will be talking. Like, maybe we can learn something. God, this tea is atrocious. It tastes of kelp and salted beef. Ugh. But the room is warm, and there is space to lounge on the sofa, which snakes across half the room. It appears traditional for patrons here to abscond with a piece of crockery. A mug, a delicate teacup, a saucer, whatever best reminds them of the tea room. As such, you do the same. No reason to be impolite. Your clothes are soft and comfortable, as if many years worn. This place is very strange. We could succumb to the wiles of a rubbery lumps seller? Sorry, that's not a lump seller who is rubbery. That is a person selling a product called rubbery lumps. Listen, I like fair food as much as the next guy. Probably more than the next guy. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this before. Give me an elephant ear any day. But rubbery lumps is just not that... I can just imagine how chewy that would be, and I don't want any part of it. Maybe we should just go down to the beach. I'm going to go down to the beach, because this is gross. An elephant ear, by the way, if you're not familiar, is basically just it's just fried dough covered in sugar and cinnamon. That's all it is. Imagine like a sort of a pancake shape, but then scale it up by 30%. It's real flat and just very large. It's supposed to look like, you know, the ear of an elephant if you covered one in sugar and cinnamon and then just ate the whole thing because you're a terrible glutton. This is a beach. Of course it's a beach. What else could it be? It is a stretch of pale particulates and roiling mists. The air smells of salt and things that mummified in the sun, of cinnamon and licorice. It is pebbles and grains of blue glass, tendrils of something curious and organic, worm-like growths tufting through the sediment. This is exactly what beaches are. Yeah, see, that was my question there, was going to be, if it's a beach, what is the sea? We could go for a dip. The most adventurous of pursuits, a dip into the mists of Worlebury-juxta-Mare. It'll ruin your clothes, but sacrifices must be made. Well, if we wander back to the arcade, we might not have time to come back here afterward. Let's just go ahead and do it. I'm very curious about this. You are lowered into the mists, a rope around your waist. If it kicks up any fuss, just kick it in the face a few times. You'll be fine. Sorry, what? Wait, what was that? What was that he said? Oh, I'd love to know what it is. A blonde-haired boy, exquisitely sculpted, challenges you to a race. You dive in simpatico and barrel down into the mists. You end up the de facto victor, of course. If only one individual emerges from a competition, they, by default, win. Oh, that's very curious. We should leave. I don't want to be here anymore. Something very strange is going on here, and I am assuming that at some point we will be told what it is. But I think it's just about time for us to go. I guess let's go ahead and take that donkey ride. The donkey you've been assigned is petite and even-tempered. Its head's mostly well-formed. Heads. Pity about the one that had failed to correctly bud. It drags along the sand, its flesh in ribbons. You are returned to the paddock of nervous customers intact and only moderately traumatized. I'm assuming from the fact that we keep seeing this, that these encounters, these experiences we're having here, would be reducing our terror, but I just can't imagine how that would be the case. Also, our very fine hat and accompanying accoutrement, I guess, have just completely worn down now. It is time to be elsewhere. Cold frissons down your spine, dragging your attention southwards. Oh dear, your clothes are in tatters. Well, let us leave swiftly then. What an embarrassment. Your beautiful garments are nothing but rags now. Well-dressed onlookers gawk and giggle, whisper and point. You look bedraggled, shabby, and, worst of all, unfashionable. What a strange place. So, we can gain entrance with uncanny specimens, 2 each time. Someone unglued the ducks in one of the entertainments in the lanes. Many people won before anyone recognized the problem, so the fair needs to replenish its stash of prizes. Ew. Or we could just pay our way in. It costs 250. Sheesh. Or we could try to, lottery. Or they'll let us in if we've done work important to the ministry. Or they'll let us in if we bring them some crockery, since everyone, including us, keeps stealing the crockery. Okay, those are some interesting options. We don't really need to go back in right now. I don't sense anything of value here. What a weird place. Oh, interesting. The shady sale of an unlikely amount of tea. What a lot of tea. Why is this scarred gentleman selling it so cheap? He picks at his teeth. You want to ask questions, or do you want to buy a load of cheap tea that may or may not have recently been used to conceal other substances of less certain legality? Well, I do love... First of all, I do love being affiliated with villains, and secondly, I do love a lot of cheap tea. What did we need tea for? How much tea did we need? So we need 3 caddies of dried tea in the direction of the Clockwork Sun, far to the southwest of London. We also still have our thing with the devil, which requires 2 tea. So we are actually short 1 tea for our... I closed the thing. Explore. Sorry. Explore. So we don't actually need that much tea. But if we take as much tea as we can hold here, I mean, we can at least sell it for more than the price we're paying for it. Oh, and we can buy literature here as well. That's very interesting. We need like a ton of literature, right? Those who remain at the avid horizon, a long way to the east-northeast of London, would love some literature. We have a lot of other things that we can trade literature for, that we know we can trade literature for. We definitely need to buy more supplies and more fuel. So this will put us at 4 and 4. I'm tempted to buy 1 tea and then fill the hold with literature from there. I think that's what we'll do. So this is enough tea for us to turn in our thing and also get enough tea for us to turn in our thing and also get our quest with the devil done. And then, as much as we need literature, we don't exactly know where we're going with that. Like, a long way to the east-northeast of London is a thing that could take us a long time to find. So we are very far from there. I sort of do want to... I think I'm just going to do this. Alright, I think that's given us direction. So what else all do we have in our hold? We also still have that crate of munitions. And this caged catch that I don't know what to do with. Well, I guess let's just sail in general to the east and see what's what out there. So our locomotive is currently pretty heavy, weighed down fairly seriously. And that means that we're going to burn through fuel pretty quickly. Keeping an eye on what the light actually goes over. So I think my plan here is to go northeast, sort of around the most Serene Mausoleum, and we'll just see what's what. Hearing a lot of engine noises. Okay, it's just a dreadnought. Nothing to be afraid of, as long as it continues to be the case that nobody realizes who I am. Oh, it looks like a wind. Or maybe that's... You know what, I think it's just particulate in the smoke coming out of the exhaust vent there. Okay, well, it turns out there's a port this way. Maybe this is perturance. Well, maybe one of the things that we're carrying will serve as a bribe for an invitation. Okay, I'm pointed basically the right way. I have to say, the Cavi has been very helpful so far. Not to say that our previous bat was useless, but he definitely felt less useful. Only partially filled with use. Well, that's interesting. What is that device for, I wonder? A temple devoted to meddling where man should not. Splendid. You're a creepy dude. See, we're still seeing these things all over the place. The Royal Society. Trying not to crash. I'm not a big fan of how this port is constructed. I guess it shouldn't come as a huge surprise to me that this area seems to be more densely populated than the Reach. It is called the Reach, and this is sort of like the seat of everything. Pretty mansions of stone and glass rise above the verdant gardens, while below machines whir and groan. A persistent sound of hammering pounds through the air. To the delight of mostly himself, the mellifluous president is planning an exhibition in the Royal Society. Okay, let's stop in and see that, I guess. He's happy to pay visiting captains for items of interest they might come across. Okay, well, we have the ability to donate otherworldly artifacts and condemned experiments and stuff. That's a lot of money. So, we have 3 condemned experiments. I'm trying to remember what we needed them all for. So I remember there was something I wanted one for, or maybe it was something I already spent one for. We had to give something to Mr. Menagerie to get the Ratronaut. I don't remember what. Was a condemned experiment part of that? Because I would not be opposed to trading off a whole bunch of these things. It doesn't seem all that hard to get otherworldly artifacts. We can make quite a lot of money here. How much money do I have right now? Just about 1,000. Let's donate all of our otherworldly artifacts. How much XP do I need to level up again? About 4,000. So all of the XP here combined is not really very valuable. You know, maybe we should hold on to these until we're close enough to something that they'll be the difference, right? Like if we get within 400 or 500 sovereigns of a new locomotive or something, we could come and sell this stuff off. Because I still don't really know what else we might do with these, and I feel like condemned experiments were important, but I can't remember exactly why. We'll come back. The words, excuse me, you can hear I'm still a little congested. Hold on just a moment. Okay. The words, Nullius in verba are written across the stonework above the great bronzewood doors. So I don't know a ton of Latin. Verba is probably words, right? Nullius meaning nothing? Nothing. I don't know what this could possibly mean. Her renewed majesty has granted these grounds to the finest minds in Albion to work here. Their purview is to invent, to hypothesize, to discover, and, most crucially, to watch the stars. The Royal Society welcomes careful captains. Well, let's leave the Clayman on board, then. The mellifluous president greets you. He directs your attention to the new marble on the floors, to the cheerful portraits of distinguished Royal Society members lining the hallway, and finally, to the very large portrait of himself in his plush library. We do like captains here at the Royal S. We need our space and, frankly, our comforts to think. But it is you, brave souls, who do the real legwork. Extremely educational. If not, our gardens are extremely fine, as is our conversation. And the port. Okay, well, we could wander the gardens. The Royal Society have left their gardens to run wild, though an attempt was made at some point to tame them. We do not have enough iron to safely wander the gardens, it looks like. Let's definitely write a report. The Royal Society hums with activity. The preparations for a new wing of the Airy House are in motion. The mellifluous president is convening another committee to continue the renovations of the gardens. The astronomers are excited about a star of burnished amber seen far to the east. The Rochester Club, regrettably, continues at high speeds. I would like to know more about that. The Rochester Club. What's the deal with that? I guess all we can really do here is visit the mellifluous president. You know what? I'm going to attempt to wander the gardens. 40%'s not that low. Low enough, it seems. The gardens were an early attempt by the Society to stamp their mark upon the sky. More interesting avenues for scientific exploration quickly presented themselves, however, and the gardens were left to run wild, half-tamed. The overgrown gardens are beautiful, but hazardous to the casual walker. You navigate the haha with an admirable alacrity. The bronzewood maze is surmountable with the aid of string. You are bedeviled by the little gnomes that poke out of the reeds in the marsh. That is strange. It is hours before someone comes to rescue you. Time has passed while you've idled in the gardens, and you've gained 5 terror. Okay, well, that's a weird thing. Let's visit with the president briefly. Hello, Captain. Do come in, come in! The mellifluous president steeples his fingers. On his desk, metal suns suspended from silver frames clack in the breeze. Now, are you here about work, or do you consider the term vulgar as well? I send reports back to London periodically, but we can't be everywhere. So much to do, so little time. Places of particular solar activity will do nicely. A small stack of invitations to the half-light mask are impaled on a paper spike on his desk. He won't say why he has them, but he will part with one if you can tell him something about the sky that he doesn't know. Well, I can definitely do that. Oh, interesting. He would also like a port report from the circus, from the Clockwork Sun, or from the House of Rods and Chains. We would receive any information you have with avid pleasure. Okay, so this is an Avid Horizon thing? Okay, well, we can certainly acquire an invitation. That's a currency I don't mind parting with some of. Yeah, even 4 Sky Stories is no price at all. Good Lord, really? Well, well. He hands over one of the invitations. The card is elegantly embossed, inscribed with a gold liquid script. The puncture mark from his paper spike seems like an appalling blemish. They'll probably still let us in, right? Okay, well, hey, that was worth something, and we got another port report. When we get back to London, we're certainly going to have a lot to turn in. Well, let's explore a little bit more. Probably we're going to end the episode after we finish our business here at the Airy House. Let's see, they have tea for sale as well. So our affiliations are starting to become more important. I don't know if that's just an Albion thing or if that's going to continue to be the case as we explore, because I am told there are more maps beyond this one. Okay, so yeah, just normal stuff to sell. The Royal Society's observatory is named for King Charles's canniest mistress. Nell's Tower is the jewel in the Society's crown. A sign on the door in neat copperplate reads, Nell's Tower, closed for the 30th annual Airy Dinner. Well, it seems like we can maybe let ourselves in, perhaps? There's a polite cough at your shoulder. Turning, you see a tall man with a beard like a nest of vipers. The supercilious bursar introduces himself. I came to round up stragglers, but as a captain you are of rank sufficient to attend the dinner, if you wish to attend. There will be port, Captain. Oh, you know how I do love port. I hope they'll have some starboard as well, right? Huh? Right, Captain? No? Okay. I read this as like, Nell's Tower is closed because the people who work here are off at another place doing the Airy Dinner. I did not understand that the Airy Dinner was within the tower. Okay, sure. Let's do that. I literally don't have a choice, so. The dinner is held in the mahogany and marble imperial dining room of Airy House. Every piece of the dinner service is mismatched, and both the furniture and the personages in the room are pleasantly rumpled. The supercilious bursar brings you to the high table, where the 3 senior astronomers of Nell's Tower are holding court. You are introduced to the senatorial professor, the chair for the effulgent sciences, and the lecturer for imperial affairs, as the first course is served. So we could dine on the game pie. It is ample and succulent, its flesh lightly roasted. Apparently there's so much of it that it will grant supplies. We could just get drunk. The Royal Society is renowned for the variety and depth of its cellars. Or we could eavesdrop on the conversation while picking at our vegetables. I think information is more valuable to us than supplies, especially since they sell supplies. Just the Sky story. That's a shame. I was hoping for something a little bit more, grand. The supercilious bursar keeps everyone's port glasses well topped up as the conversation descends into fractious bickering. The disagreement centers around the orientation of the Society's great telescope. The lecturer wishes its gaze outwards, beyond the borders of Albion, while the chair desires it turned on Albion's territories. The first course ends with a great smacking of lips and a general feeling of goodwill towards the chef. The supercilious bursar passes the dish of buttered potatoes with an oily smile. The conversation continues, lubricated by Herculean quantities of port. Buttered potatoes, roast squirmlings, and sautéed Hybrian mushrooms, be careful, are devoured in between rhetorical thrusts. Okay, who do we want to talk to? A lecturer in imperial affairs, a chair for the effulgent sciences, or a senatorial professor? What is he a professor of? Do we know? I think this is what our character would be most interested in. Just sort of sciences in general. Her eyes are wild. She has savaged the potatoes, a woman after my own heart. Her conversation rambles, but her language is poetry. She interrupts you repeatedly to make this point or that. At first, these feel like random interjections, but by the end, she is refuting points you made at the start of the course and anticipating your jokes with wild-eyed delight. I have always been in love with the heavens, is all the biography you get from her, however. The second course ends with the lecturer in imperial affairs telling a rather ribald joke, and a hearty toast to the continued health of all present. Sherbets produced in London's sweet shops, sponge cake from the Admiral Nelson on Port Prosper, clotted cream, and actual strawberries grown in the gardens, and of course more port. The conversation grows looser, the story is more risque. The supercilious bursar leans in conspiratorially. I arrange these dinners to promote unity, you understand, and, of course, for the good memory of our previous president, who nobly argued for the introduction of the society to the wilderness, and convinced Her Majesty of our utility. He toasts the large portrait of Airy that dominates the room. Sorry, the previous president is named Airy. It's not a house that is Airy, it's Airy's house. Okay, interesting. I think let's keep pressing on with the chair for the effulgent sciences. She seems to like us, kind of. She's drawing something on a napkin. What's that? What you got there? Are those limbs? Rays? She smiles widely. It was something I saw last time I was permitted to use our great scope. Honestly, what's the point if we have to ask permission every time we move it? Did Isaac Newton need King Charlie's permission to discover gravity? King Charlie feels very familiar. The third course comes to a close with a great groaning and heartfelt but false protestations that one couldn't possibly manage cheese and biscuits after all this. The supercilious bursar leans in as the plates are cleared away. Before we adjourn, there is the question of patronage to consider. Ah, there it is. All eyes are on you. A hush falls over the table. The three faces of the astronomers are turned to you. The supercilious bursar continues as though nothing has changed. Our telescope is operated only by the will of the government. We are not allowed to move the telescope without permission. A bold skyfarer, such as yourself, might obtain such permission, or at least an official-looking document that could be conceivably construed as permission. Our astronomers would be very much interested in patronizing you. You bring them a permit, they can advance their researches. In exchange, they'll teach you what they know. An iron-haired astronomer, London's own appointment, a wild-eyed astronomer specializing in the habits of the stars, or the blindfolded, cantankerous astronomer of Old London. Sorry, did we miss that he's blindfolded? Was that described to me previously? I think I'm happy to go with the chair for the effulgent sciences. She's way into potatoes. She must know a thing or two. She lets out a high laugh, wild as the shrieks of the bat-winged curators that ride the celestial winds. I'll show you such things, Captain. Come to the tower, do, and make sure you have a permit. Okay. Well, we'll get one of those. That'll happen. I'll be back. A cozy country house bolted onto the side of the Society's glass houses and overgrown lawns. This is the meeting place of the infamous Rochester Racing Club. Brandy glasses gleam on the shelves. Polished brass fixtures abound. A fire roars in the hearth. Members sit in comfortable armchairs comparing war stories. Parts salvaged from broken trains adorn the walls. Oh, is this like train racing? I could, Thundering terror of the Sunless Skies, the Rochester races are the competitive sport of choice at the Royal Society. I mean, our train is not particularly fast. They're all sort of the same speed, aren't they? Yeah, let's compete. I know how to fly a thing. Lord Rochester claps you on the back. Good sport, that. The rules are simple. Get to the destination port and back in 30 days. Then you can call yourself a true Rochester racer. Savvy? Calls for order in the clubroom and gathers the other racers around. A quick toast is raised to your health, and then it's on with the race. Okay, so get back to the Rochester Club within 30 days, having stopped at your destination, which is... reach the floating parliament and return. Uh-oh. I don't know where that is. Do I? It's not just London, is it? No, I don't think so. Well, we'll probably lose the race then. Yeah, that's going to make things tricky. Alright, what's going on at Portsmouth House? The workshops under the Airy are known collectively as Portsmouth House. The glass and brick factories are staffed by harassed inventors and engineers, working constantly to produce the next advancement in adventuring equipment. Oh, I think these are sort of our people, yeah? And also, potentially very useful to us. The Portsmouth Arsenal, smoke and soot, glass and steel. The ring of hammers on metal, the swearing of engineers, the acrid scent of sweat. Here, in the bowels of Portsmouth House, the scientists of the Royal Society work to produce experimental designs for daring captains. A team of engineers led by the energetic mechanic are excited to get to work on whatever you'll pay them for. Here you can convert goods to experimental modifications, which can be exchanged for unique equipment. Okay, that's curious. I'm interested. We can peruse the designs. We can purchase unique locomotive equipment. We can contribute uncanny specimens, visions of the heavens that crate of munitions that we have, otherworldly artifacts, which would be awfully useful to get rid of. Ooh, man, condemned experiments are really valuable. We could also talk to the energetic mechanic, spend a little bit of tea to earn ourselves. So there's a lot of ways to get experimental modifications. Let's see what we would actually exchange them for. Pieces the engineers have reluctantly accepted are finished. Sorry, let me read that again with the stress correct. Pieces that the engineers have reluctantly accepted are finished, are stored in this long gallery of steel and glass. Equipment gleams behind glass cases, like exhibits in a technical-minded museum. Take your time, the energetic mechanic says, leaning against a wall. Just let me know if I can be of any assistance. So we could acquire the Montresor Chamber, a secure chamber for your own private use. That's I wouldn't want to lock myself in a chamber called Montresor. Requires you have at least 50 veils, couldn't use it anyway. Increases hold and quarters by 4. Does it say... My question is, are these things I'm actually going to have to plug into slots on my train? Because if so, it should tell me what kind of slot they are. Oh, it does. The bridge slot. Okay, fair enough. The Rossetti Cabins occupies the plating slot. Requires your hearts is 25, increases armor by 8 and quarters by 2. I think our current armor is increasing, or the current thing in our plating slot is increasing armor by 10. This is not like a huge gain. Amniotic crew containment. Expandable hardened rubbery sacks for your crew to sleep in. Also doubles as hull protection. Requires 75 veils, but increases your armor by 13 and quarters by 5. That is just way better than our current plating, but we do not have anywhere near 75 veils. Acquire the Mighty Pen Defensive Library System. A pneumatic library staffed by its own rat librarian armed with many tactical tomes. Occupies an auxiliary slot, requires a hearts of 25, and is 4 armor and 5 hold. That's not that great. Acquired the Mechanical Turk. This mechanical chess player is in fact a hoax. It contains a hidden space for a skilled player to sit comfortably within and operate it from within, but it might have its own uses. Oh, interesting. Increases your hold by 1 and your hidden compartments by 1. That's not a thing we've ever needed before. But if we were going to try to smuggle contraband between the maps... Alright, superior mining and smelting array. A mining array that occupies the auxiliary slot requires your veils is at least 25 and increases the hold, so it's a little bit like the cannery thing, right? A forward-mounted cannery that affords the bridge crew an excellent view as your prey is filleted. Unusually mounted in the bridge slot. It requires your mirrors is at least 25 and increases your armor by 5. None of these are super great, except for the crew containment thing, which we are nowhere near being able to use. Alright, I've seen enough, thank you. So we're not going to be contributing today, but I do want to ask him about his very strange suit. They clank about the arsenal in an old diving suit. It has pistons and chains that whir when the mechanic needs reinforcement. It's clearly no longer used for deep-sea diving. The energetic mechanic gives you a delighted smile. So glad you asked. Yes, I did repurpose it. Did all the work myself. It keeps me warm in the cold and cool when things are a little too warm. Closer examination reveals tiny sigils of fire and of ice scintillating across the diving suit's surface. For a moment, their tone is rueful. It cost me nearly everything to create. I wasn't sure it would be worth it. But the places I've been able to go to see! I can travel the wastes where all the stars are dead, or explore the eye of the storm that speaks. I have questions about the storm that speaks. Can we... No? He's not going to fill me in on that? Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know that we really even need any experimental modifications. So, while we're here, do we want to pick anything up? We have 1 slot open. I guess let's grab another crate of supplies. We're about to run our supplies out. And then I think this is where we're going to call it for now. We are still headed generally in this direction. I'll probably try to like arc around the outside, because it's much easier to search all of the interior stuff later. But I don't know how many times we're going to want to be out by the rim. Yeah, so that's the plan there. Maybe we'll even discover the floating parliament and be able to win the race. I wouldn't count on it, though. So that's going to be it for us for today. Thank you all so much for watching. Come back next time, tomorrow, probably, hopefully, for that thing I just said. Generally, fly into the east, hopefully not getting murdered. And we'll see you then.